For months, my brother George endured sleepless nights, freezing chills, and panic attacks so intense that he feared he was dying. Doctors, tests, and treatments had no answers. But 2 days ago, during his worst panic attack yet, something happened that stopped it in its tracks. A moment that brought a pattern into focus and unlocked a mystery buried in his subconscious for 28 years. 2 days ago, George was on the brink of heading to the hospital during a severe panic attack. He sat at the dining room table waiting for my mom. Clutching his chest and consumed by fear, he bent forward, crossed his arms on the table, and rested his head. And just like that, the panic was gone. When he called me later, relieved but puzzled, he described what had happened. As he spoke, he casually mentioned something that made my ears perk up. Years ago, during his first panic attack as a truck driver, the same thing had happened. He bent forward, hugging the steering wheel in his truck, and the panic stopped immediately. That's when I saw a pattern. His body instinctively returned to the same position both times to find relief. It wasn't a coincidence. It was a clue. I asked him, "Do you remember ever being in this position as a child?" He paused, thought about it, and said, "No, I don't think so." But then, seemingly out of nowhere, George mentioned a dream he'd had the night before. In the dream, our late father, who passed away 28 years ago, appeared to my brother. He pointed out a hidden traffic sign behind a bush that read, "The soul is the key." George wanted to show the sign to our mom, but when he looked back, it had vanished. In the same dream, George felt an external force throwing him around, leaving him powerless to fight back. As he described the dream, my mind returned to the pattern of bending forward. A question formed in my head, and I couldn't ignore it. "George, did you ever see Dad in that position?" And he immediately said yes when he passed away. I was there that day when our father died. George was 19 and I was 22. Our father had collapsed at the dining table, hunched forward, sweating profusely. I sent George outside to wait for the doctor while I stayed behind. I didn't want him to see my dad slipping away. Dad passed away in a few moments after that. When I asked George how he had processed that moment, like what went through his mind, he revealed something that left me speechless. He told me that he had always blamed himself for not saving our dad. He believed that he should have been there to give CPR or do something to bring him back. But the most haunting part, in his grief, anger, and desperation, he made a pact with the devil. He offered his own soul in exchange for our father's life. The trauma, buried for 28 years, had been sitting in his subconscious, replaying itself, punishing himself, reliving my dad's death through panic attacks and physical symptoms. I explained to George, "Your mind is incredibly powerful. Every thought, every word you speak creates a blueprint that your subconscious follows. Even though you forgot about that moment, your mind didn't. It had been punishing you for something that was never your fault." I also told him, "The authority you gave to the dark force only exists because you gave it, and you have the power to revoke it. You don't need to carry this burden anymore." So he listened to me, and for the first time, he understood the root of this pain. And that night, he slept peacefully. No chills, no panic, just rest. And by the next day, he was a different person, lighter, calmer, and finally free from the weight of the guilt he'd carried for decades. As a hypnotherapist, I've seen how the mind's hidden patterns can control a person's life. But this time, I didn't need hypnosis to solve the mystery. I used our shared past, his dream, and the patterns that his mind and body had revealed to uncover the truth. This wasn't just about stopping panic attacks. It was about helping my brother reclaim his peace of mind and let go of a guilt that wasn't his to bear. It's a powerful reminder that the mind holds onto everything, even the pain we try to bury. But when you uncover the truth, the mind also holds the power to heal.